Hello and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. Okay. This is another Gray Sheep episode. And after one of my last episodes when I talked about education and some of the things that I try to do for my K through 12 students, I try to do things for my college students as well. And I think I've brought up in other episodes, but I will talk about them thoroughly in other episodes because I try to unite technology, apps, cell phones, usage, and traditional education together because a lot of my students already knew they're sneaking on their phones, they're trying to be on it, they're looking stuff up. So I tried, like, a lot of times I tried to make sure I taught them how you can use your cell phone for good. How can you use your cell phone for your career and to help you expand your mind and things like that. And even with, it's like the AI art and things like that, because when it comes to marketing and advertising, if you're starting something, a business on your own, and you're doing all the marketing on your own, sometimes you need some help. But I did let them know how, like, with some projects, you're going to need an a professional illustrator, and also maybe if you are going to go the AI route, how you might need someone who's a professional editor to make sure the human being has either the right amount of fingers. But with me, since I need a lot of artwork where people have disabilities, if they're missing an arm or a leg or legs or a limb, whatever, that's a good, because it's really crazy how when I type in they have a disability or they're missing a leg, like, you don't know what I have seen. And I might do an episode on one day when I finally get back to the nerd channel. But first I need to finish this novel. And there's so much I want to do on the nerd channel. This might be kind of a goals episode too, because there are so many things I want to do and that I have to catch up from doing for over 30 years, between 30 to 40 years, because it's like I wasn't allowed to do many of the things that I've wanted to do. Even publish my books, I was threatened to be kicked out the house if I was going to publish my books or if I was going to try to be an author. And so and that's one reason why, like, even writing my book, sometimes I get nervous and scared. Yes, even though the person who threatened me for years and years, she is no longer on this earth, I am still scared. And one of the reasons is because she told family members to look out if I started a YouTube channel, to let her know so she can kick me out. And there were sometimes family members on Facebook who would write me, and they would even ask, did you start a channel, or did you do this? Are you still writing your stuff? What kind of stuff are you? It's like, no, it's a trap. And it's really sad that for me, it was a trap. And that's one reason why with Facebook, I don't post anything personal. I don't. Because even when I was dating that church guy, family members would, like, even immediate family members would go back to my mother and tell her everything I was posting, to the point where I'm just like, yes, I it was a nightmare. And that wouldn't be another Great Sheep episode, but with after everything I've been through, being called a liar, being told that I would never be able to achieve anything in my life, and I will have the Disney internship episode soon, but being told that, well, since I graduated, well, no, let's see. This, I was in college right around 9/11, and a couple years later, I applied to get the Disney internship. And it was crazy fast that I got accepted as getting the internship or whatever. I was so excited. And I'll tell the whole story later, but it's crazy how the excuse that my mother gave me was 9/11 one year. And then a couple years later, I remember she called me in her room for some. It's like I was finally achieving stuff. It's like with promotional modeling, getting my master's and things like that. I was getting my life together. And it's crazy how sometimes like, she saw that I was about to be happy. So she decided, oh, this is a good time where I can ruin her life or make her feel absolutely awful to make sure she's never happy. And some people might say, no, that's not. Yes, that's exactly. Because I will never forget what she did. And she did this all the time, but this time it hurt so badly because my parents thought like cartoons and stuff and anime are childish and things like that. But they knew like especially writing books and stories, creating characters, I have a big imagination. That's one reason I love Disney and everything. It's like, and I love how they they make children have hope and happiness and things like that. Because that's even in college, I needed that. My walking was getting worse. No one believed me. And it's like sometimes just watching a little Disney helped cheer me up, helped me escape the nightmare that I was living. And even when I could no longer walk for those few months, a lot of times I was watching Disney movies, especially. And after my surgery, I watched The Incredibles like over and over. Like, and then also The Emperor's New Groove, and then Princess Tiana and and Tangled. It's like, yeah. So yeah, Princess and the Frog. Oh my gosh, I love that. Like, and some people like that's because you're like, no, no. She wanted to start her own business, and she worked hard. She hustled. She grinded. She did what she had to do. And then she found a man who first he was, ooh, his ego. But then he embraced her dream and he loved her because she had, like, I don't know, it's just, I love the story of her wanting something so, like, her business and her dreams and goals so badly. And it wasn't all because of, yeah, she got the man, but it wasn't just about the man. The adventure for her was for her dream and something that she cherished, especially for her father and stuff like that. So, but okay. Oh, why do I say all of this? Well, we've talked about what a gray sheep is. If you're new to this channel, yeah, I have over 300 episodes now, close to 350, so a lot for you to catch up on. But if you look out for the episodes that have gray sheep in them, some of them, before I thought of the idea of titling it Gray Sheep, there are a few others, but the Gray Sheep ones are specifically on this topic. Because in most families, you have the black sheep of the family, and you never really hear about the Gray Sheep, where for some reason you are always the outsider. You're unique or different or odd or strange, or you're the child that your parents never want to bring up, but whenever you escape the atmosphere of the traditional family or the church family or anything like that, it seems like everyone else likes you. Everyone else is like, they understand you in some ways until you tell them your nightmare of what your reality is. And then sometimes they don't believe you, but the gray sheep is kind of the atmosphere and the type of person who you're different and unique and you're the outsider, but you're not the type. It's so complicated. One day I'm gonna sit down and maybe I'll do a live, and I'll sit down and you guys can help me create like a confirmed definition. But there's huge differences with black sheep and gray sheep. And one thing with gray sheep, like I said, you're unique. You have your different path. There are some families where it's tradition to either join the army or be a police officer or be basically in the same career or have the same hobbies and interests. And gray sheep, yeah, usually we're just kind of like, no, I want to do A, B, and C. I want to do something traditional, something outside the path, something that's not traditional within our family scope or within even the community or the stereotype and things like that. And I'm going to give some examples. And also, I'm going to be talking about, because yes, I am still working on my website. I haven't touched it in months, to be honest. I have things listed and I'm planning things out, but I'm trying to finish the novel and get the greeting cards ready so I can at least open up officially this summer. And I want the novel to be out, if not by the end of this year, which I said it was going to be the end of this year, but I want to make sure it's a good book, and especially my one novel turned into a series, and so this is going to be part one's a three part, and then it's going to dive into the like, well, different family members and different people within her relations. And so, if you know, it's urban fantasy, disability representation, anyone and everyone who is against DEI and against CRT will absolutely hate my book. Yay. So anyway, with one of my goals that I kind of realized after working on a couple things this week and talking about education, I want to make sure as many students, kids, are able to have access to goals, dreams, and opportunities, and especially in the inner cities, because a lot of people don't understand white privilege. Yes, said it. A lot of you guys don't understand it, and a lot don't understand the unfairness within the education system, and even sometimes the teachers that are hired within the system that shouldn't be. But and yeah, I'll admit I'm not perfect. It's like I have a smart mouth and I have dry humor. And if a student talks to me like I'm an adult, I'm going to return the favor. And then some of them fake cry, like, oh, yeah, I know you're a child. Yeah, and I put you in your place too. So now you're going to talk to me like you are a child. It's like if you listen to some of those episodes, you already know what I'm talking about. Because especially when male students are threatening to bend me over and R word me, when students are threatening to flip my tires, when male students, when the principal says that we have to collect all the phones or whatever, male students are handing me the phones, but they make sure to show like a picture is still up on their phones. And it's really sad that I had to create the rule of your phones have to be off in my, like, not only do I have to turn them in, but you have to turn them off, because male students would hand them to me with eggplant pictures posted on them, their eggplant pictures. And if you don't know how, like, but then they would turn around and lie about me to the principal, saying that and I'm just like, I, but they did worse for some of the other teachers, but it's like, I kept them busy. I kept them so busy that they couldn't do most of the things that they did in some of the other classrooms. But for revenge, because as some of the teachers kept telling them, if you keep listening to this teacher, she's going to turn you white. And some of the students thought that if they degraded me, and or sometimes they would give me their phone and it would be a middle finger. I mean, it would be different things, but I remember, like, I would have to talk to the child protective service person a couple times about their client student, like that student doing that. And so they had to have a very long talk with the student, because he would tell the other male students to do it too. So that's kind of how it started. But then when I wrote them up, remember Miss Know It All, Mrs. Know It All, she threw them away. She threw them away. But then the principal would ask me, then if this is going on, why don't you write them up? Yeah, these are the type that. So one of my goals is, because if you listen to one of the previous episodes, which I will try to add into this episode so you can listen. I want more kids and students to be able to have opportunities for clubs, and if they know what their career path, or if they think they know, because if we all know, once you go to college, how many of us change our majors? I changed it because, yeah, this is going to be a two-parter. I changed my major a few times because I I was kind of forced to have to major in something, and it was my worst subject whatsoever. It was a subject, and then even now, knowing that I have a learning disability component, well, a learning complications, well, it's a disability, so, but with my walking disability, I have a hard time learning, and that's part of it, or whatever. It's all connected. So, with knowing why I kept changing my major, because I never wanted to major in it in the first place, and where I am today, and I'm still I have so much more to publish with my children's books and with my novels and activity books, and I with my Etsy. Like, if you've been listening, you already know all the projects and things that I want as my goals. But I want to encourage other students, other kids, and even with my college students at the end of the semester, if they worked hard, I try to save the last one or two classes where I showed them resources and even sites that if they ever want to start investing, or if they ever wanted to do A, B, and C with their career, or if they wanted to start a business, I would save those days to show them and share with them resources that I have found while creating my business, while investing, while doing different things, because I want them to have an easier life than I had. And especially, I grew up at the beginning of the internet, so at their age, I didn't have any of this. I had to learn it. Like, majority of this stuff, I learned about investing from my parents, but I invest totally different, or majority of it, it's very different than them. But if there are clubs and activities about investing, about money management, and I remember Dr. Phil, he did an episode and show about reparations and things, and he said, well, they shouldn't get reparations because they don't know how to manage money. Well, you know what? Let's start with Generation A. Let's make sure they have money management, so then there won't be an excuse anymore. And so with my website, I might have to do it like alphabetical by state, and then also national. But I want to find a list of different organizations, or maybe by hobby, because if like math related, if there are any math clubs or math groups, if a student's interested in a career in mathematics, it's like, you never know, they might want to work for NASA one day. And then science as well, they might want to either NASA, or they might want to invent their own invention. There's that one young, brilliant, amazing African American teen who created a soap that can help cure skin cancer. So it's like, you never know what these kids might be able to do. And those are just some examples, but I want to make sure that as many students as humanly possible are able to reach their dreams. And especially when you're Black, you don't have nearly as many resources, and or you don't have the representation, and or you don't have the influence and role models that will help encourage you. And it's really sad that sometimes some people, it's like once they make it up, they want to keep you down. And that includes some of these celebrities. Now that some of them have money, they want to make sure they keep having money, and they keep you down. And some of you guys already know who I'm talking about. Some of you guys already know who I'm talking about. And I'm not even talking about that president, right? It's like there's so many other examples. So, yeah. But as a gray sheep, trying to like figure out my my path, my passions and everything, it kind of got complicated because I wanted to be a writer. Ever since I was in fifth grade, I remember my fifth grade teacher would play music. Like it was kind of like therapeutic, but it was like journal time where we got to write in our journals. And I didn't really think much of it at first, like, because I was just writing my feelings and writing what I heard. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't like, I mean, because we read, like, we had Shel Silverstein books and some poetry, but I didn't know what I was writing was poetry. And I remember my teacher, she was so impressed. Sometimes she would come up to me and she would ask me so many questions about, how did you think of this? This is beautiful. And I would just be like, I don't know. It's like when I heard the music, that's how I felt. That to me, that's what I got from it. And I still remember how she went to, like, during parent teacher conferences. I remember she asked for me to be there too. I was so scared because most of my teachers did not like me. I still remember my second grade teacher. Oh, I can't stand that woman. Oh, she better be happy that I'm a Christian because I would hate her so much. Because, yeah, my second grade teacher was the one reason I kept getting spankings. Because during assemblies, I couldn't stay in Indian position or Indian style and or crisscross applesauce and things like that because my my undiagnosed disability. But I was undiagnosed. Doctors kept saying I had nothing. So it's like, but I would always have to move around because my legs were irritated and just, it was painful. And she did, like, my mom didn't believe me. She didn't believe me. And so I kept getting twos on my report cards for behavior. And sometimes she told me, I'm going to look at you throughout. If I see you move once, then I'm going to mark it and blah, blah, blah. And then story time, same thing. Like it was every time we had to sit on the carpet, she was like, you're moving again. I have to. I can't help it. I couldn't stand that woman. Oh, I couldn't stand that woman. But anyway, so in fifth grade, I found out I love poetry, I love writing. And even years later, it's like when I could go to the library and work on projects. I would love reading Nancy Drew, but I started learning about Langston Hughes and other African American writers. So I started learning more about rhyming and metaphors and similes and foreshadowing and all of the just beautiful, like, systematical types of writing and stuff. And I wanted to be more creative and write my stories. But that wasn't on my parents' plan, or at least my mother's. Oh, we. And it's really crazy because my father agreed with my mom for so long, but then after she passed away, and once I like, after my surgery, and doctors realized that something else, it must be, I wasn't diagnosed, but I had to have the surgery. They're like, oh, something else is wrong because they said that all I needed was surgery. And they said I'll be walking fine, whatever. And then they realized, oh, our bad, something's still wrong. And I kept telling them something was wrong because I said all throughout my life, and no, they never believed me until the test that proved my point. Did any of them ever apologize? No. Did my mother ever apologize? That will be a probably 3-part series. Okay, okay. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to either work nonprofit, and I know it doesn't make as much money. Years ago, I knew it didn't, but since I love volunteering and I know the difference it can make for the community, I didn't care. Part of me would just be like, I would figure out a way. And part of me, like going to church and things like that, I was like, I think God would care more about my effectiveness on the earth more than how much money is in my wallet. I think God would care. Like, I don't like, just like a club, I don't think there's an entrance fee to go to heaven. I don't think he treats it like a club. I hope he doesn't, because it's like, I hope the fee is how big your heart is, of how giving and like how empathetic you were. I hope that's it, because, well, different subject, different day. But real quick, I'm going to go through kind of a list, because I know I'm going to need a two-parter, and I'm going to need to do the story times for some of the examples. But when I was my 11th and 12th grade year, this is when, well, my mom started telling me the line around 10th or 11th grade about how, as long as you walk like that, no one's ever going to want you, love you, or marry you. But she was already also saying this about, if you're ever going to if you're ever going to get a job, no one's going to want you like that. So you better start walking right. And she would start laughing or making terrible, horrifying comments. And if I even got emotional, yeah, it wasn't pretty. But I remember when I said, okay, I might want to be a lawyer, because I like either as cartoons or law related shows. Those were the two main things that I listened to. But I will never forget when my dad looked me right in the eye in the kitchen and told me, well, you're not smart enough to be one. And he said a couple other things, but that was the main point on that one. And then I remember saying that I wanted to maybe do computer programming. And because I was like, the internet's coming up and I love being creative, and maybe I can learn how to. And he was, I will never forget this, but he looked me right in the eyes and said, only men and lesbians get into that career, and he will not allow me in this house if I end up being a lesbian. And how he will not motivate me to be anything that will guide me towards that path. I'm a Christian girl. I'm going to stay. Like, yeah, it was a whole big thing, to the point where I went upstairs and started crying, because, okay, you say I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer. You say I'm not allowed to be a like get into computers and do programming and things. And then with English, because I want to be an author, you say you're going to throw me out the house if I even try to major in or try to be an author or publish a book. You're going to kick me out. And so my options were running really thin. But then for some reason, like, I know because I love animals, and my perfect sister is brilliant and smart, and they knew what path she was going. You should be a veterinarian. Even though science and math are my worst subjects. Science and math are my worst subjects. But they were telling me, this is what and they didn't ask me, they told me, this is what you're going to major in. Yeah, this is what you're going to do with your life. Even though I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it, I wasn't going to be able to make it through. And my mom would even sometimes compare me to another sibling and tell me, you're never going to graduate, you're never going to make anything, you're never going to. And then if I started crying, then got yelled at even more for being emotional and being mad that I'm not intaking or digesting what Jesus told her to tell me. And she always did that. Jesus is telling me to tell you this. But thank you so much for listening to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. I am a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human, and you're human too.